r/AskReddit created by routinereddit. What is the most wholesome thing you have seen? Was headed to Oakland from San Francisco through the tube. Trains packed as always. People on BART are good about public transit etiquette in general during commute hours, so nobody's talking or listening to music or anything. When we leave the tube onto the viaduct over the port, one guy answers his phone. Hello? Yeah? Oh my god. What hospital? Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. He hangs up and just looks super distraught. Someone taps him on the shoulder and says my car is parked at West Oakland. Do you need a ride? He agrees and they get off together. Little gesture, but it was uplifting to see someone volunteer for a stranger like that. Slightly less wholesome, but I've always thought a motorcycle Uber would be good for in really busy cities when you need to get somewhere fast. Businessman late for a meeting in London. Here's a helmet. Sign this waiver. We can filter past all the traffic. Gran is dying and you need to get there now. Helmet. Waiver. Hold on tight. Edit. I know this is a thing in many developing nations and some big cities, but it's not really a thing here in the UK where I'm from. Also, lane splitting is legal here. America isn't the entirety of the world. I know someone who worked at a small startup in San Francisco. Apparently the CEO had a flight booked from Oakland to London, but was a bit of an airhead and hadn't realized his passport had expired. His flight was in 2 hours. He basically paid for the stupid expensive super fast renewal process and jetted over to the passport office to have his renewed and issued provisional paperwork in 45 minutes. When he was done, he was still across the bay from Oakland with only an hour and 15 minutes before his flight. BART to the airport from downtown SF is 35 minutes, and he was a 15-minute walk away from the nearest BART station. Would be cutting it too close to get through security with his bags. In traffic on the bridge at rush hour, it can take 2 hours. No way he'd make it. Apparently he called up a nearby motorcycle dealership and said, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle, but if I leased a motorcycle from you for 2 weeks and paid you extra, will you drive it to the Oakland airport with me on the back, park it at long-term parking, and take BART back? I have a flight in 75 minutes. The guy said, let me call the owner. 10 minutes later the owner called him back and said, we don't do that. But screw it. Let's go. He made his flight. I love how the moral of the story is A, when you're rich you can make dumb mistakes and still solve any resulting problem, and B, motorcycles are basically like teleporters in congested areas, and C, when you ask the kind of guy who owns a motorcycle dealership to do something crazy and random and exciting, they're probably down. I had a teacher in high school who had a reputation as being the super tough / mean older African American lady. She taught health class. There was a mandatory CPR class that we had to pay for, and there was no way I could pay for anything in those days. CPR day came, and she told me to go with the other students. I gave her a confused look, to which she replied, "You're good, baby." And she had paid for me. Later in the year, I fell asleep in her class. It was a home game day, basketball, and she told me to lay back down after the bell had rung. It was the last period of the day. She told me she'd wake me up before I had to report to the gym. She dimmed the lights and played some light jazz while she did her work at the computer. I hadn't been sleeping well at home, and I'm guessing she knew. I woke up when she brought the lights back up, and she handed me one of her cup of soups she had warmed up. We never really spoke much, but she had my back, and I made sure she knew I had hers. The most wholesome. On senior night, they introduce the players and say some stuff about them as they walk to center court, typically with parents arm in arm. When it was almost my time to walk, she saw that I was alone. Bless her heart, she about fell down from her seat running towards me. She put her arm through mine and just looked forward, chin up, proud as heck as they read my stats / grades / etc. I remember that walk and how I wish I had a picture or recording from that day showing how big I must have been smiling. My friends' mothers had tears in their eyes. They made sure to invite me to dinner with them after the game, and I made sure it was okay that I brought my teacher. She politely declined and just told me she was proud of me. After I had graduated and was a bit better on my feet, I returned to visit her. It was honestly the only thing that could get me back in that place. Each time I'd bring flowers and or food, and made sure to do it in front of students, and made sure they knew to respect her. Only story so far that has made me tear up. If I had a gold, you get it. Me too. These stories made me borderline weepy, but this one broke the floodgate. I'm so grateful for teachers like this, and they give me so much hope and inspiration for the sort of person I'd like to become. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. When I was a preschool teacher, we had one kid who was our certified cheer-upper. If someone was crying, she'd get a tissue, walk over, carefully blot their eyes, and make them blow their nose. All while saying, "It's okay, you're okay." Eventually they'd stop crying, she'd take their hand and they'd go play. She was a little angel. Edit. Thank you for sharing all the super sweet stories in replies, and for the silver. I was playing with my 6-year-old nephew, and pretending to cry really dramatically, and I suddenly his 2-year-old brother yells "Oh no" from the other room, comes running in repeating "Oh no" as he runs, and starts patting my cheeks, and dabbing at my eyes with his shirt saying "You okay?" Such a sweet kiddo. OMG, my heart. That's so sweet. This is the kind of wholesome I didn't know I needed today. Thank you. And small child. What a sweetheart. Makes me wonder how she was raised, and how wonderful her own parents, hopefully, are too. Older siblings may play a role too. I'm older sister. Can confirm. Did do this when I accidentally hurt my younger sisters. It's all cool now. The worst thing I ever did was drop something and gave one a bloody nose. Or maybe give her nightmares for months with a scary story. Hard to tell. Emotional scars are way worse in my opinion. This sounds like my daughter. My daughter is on the spectrum, but she is very loving and likes to give hugs. She just has a sixth sense about her when someone really needs that hug. One of her daycare workers had just found out her cancer had returned. She hadn't told a soul at the school yet. My daughter just walked up to her and said, "I think you need a hug," and gave her one. She still does that to this day. The child is clueless on so much, can't pick up sarcasm at all, but boy she is in tune emotionally to people. That's so sweet. Kids are so much more aware than most people give them credit for. My son, when he was 3 or 4, randomly approached a lady at Target to hug her. I was about to apologize for it, and the lady just burst into tears. She said it was the anniversary of her son's death and she really needed that hug. Said it made her feel like her son had somehow made it happen. My last week of high school, our lunch lady gave out small gifts to some of the seniors. Just the kids that took the time to chat with her, that she got to know more personally. I received a sketchbook with a sweet good luck note in it. I was always in art club and was going to school for fine arts. So she took the time to get all of us a gift that was specific to us. This lady saw hundreds of kids a day and still took the effort to get to know us. Lunch ladies are the best. I bonded with one in my Point High School, and she would always tell me about her day and was always excited to see me. She was like a really cool aunt. Lunch lady at my high school knew my name and my order. I was always impressed that she still took time to give what's probably a thankless job a little personal touch. This next year is my senior year, and the thing I'm most excited for is seeing this one lunch lady and listening to her stories about her grandson again. Tell her that when school starts again, I bet it will make her day. I will be sure to do so. A little boy at the airport kept trying to climb over a concrete divider that had active traffic on the other side. His mom was loaded with luggage and kept trying to stop him, but didn't have free hands. My brother-in-law walked up and said, "Hey kid, there's a rule here. You have to keep one foot on the ground at all times. Look around. Everyone has at least one foot on the ground." The kid kept trying to climb, but with one foot firmly glued to the ground he wasn't in danger anymore. Such a creative and wholesome way to let the kid keep playing while keeping him safe. As a parent, drop the luggage and tell him you need his help and hand him a little bag so he feels needed and stays with you. Thank you for the silver. I don't know what to say other than I love you. When I would take my ex's kids out grocery shopping or wherever, I would have the oldest one, age 5, hold on to my key lanyard and pretend he was walking me like a dog. He thought it was hilarious, and I didn't have to hold his hand, his brothers, and the groceries all at the same time. I thought this was a really cute idea, and then I remembered that some kids are little craps and would be roughly pulling your lanyard and trying to make you turn in different ways. LMAO. Thankfully, he wasn't that type of kid. He just thought mom being a dog was hilarious. I was on what I call a rumpled suit flight. One of those flights on a Friday at 6 from New York to DC where most of the flight consists of business people in suits drinking $14 double whiskeys. A fellow rumpled suit sat across the aisle from me next to a mother and her kid. When she could, the kid brought down her tray table and a coloring book and started coloring. I didn't hear what was said, but at some point the kid handed the rumpled suit a coloring book, and they spent the remainder of the flight coloring and chatting. I was kinda like, I want to color too. I was on a flight about a month ago and there was a kid next to me with a bunch of Pokemon cards. This was after Sword and Shield was announced, so I asked him if he was excited for the new game. His eyes lit up immediately and he started geeking out and showing me all his favorite Pokemon. I told him my favorite game was Emerald, and he said he never got to play it. I have a GBA emulator on my phone with a ROM of it, so I let him play it the rest of the flight. The joy of a child is absolutely beautiful.